Hey there, welcome to another episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 68, and I'm recording on February 14th, 2025. Yes, I'm spending Valentine's Day watching a movie about true love, and I'm recording a podcast all by myself. So, the movie I watched this time was Romeo and Juliet from 1936, still the ninth Academy Awards ceremony. This was an Amazon rental. Got it for $4.23. So far, we're averaging about $2 a movie for this round. Not bad. And I will read a little bit about it for you. So, Romeo and Juliet is a 1936 American film adapted from the play by William Shakespeare, directed by George Cukor from a screenplay by Talbot Jennings. Film stars Leslie Howard as Romeo and Norma Shearer as Juliet. And the supporting cast features John Barrymore, Basil Rathbone, and Andy Devine. Cukor's 1936 adaptation stays largely faithful to Shakespeare's text, but makes use of the cinematic medium to enhance the drama and romance of the story. The film, set against lavish sets and costumes, was a grand production for its time and featured Norma Shearer and Leslie Howard in the titular roles. Produced by Irving Thalberg, cinematography by William H. Daniels, edited by Margaret Booth, music by Herbert Stothart, production company Metro Goldwyn Mayer, distributed by Lowe's Inc. Was released on August 20th, 1936, and has a runtime of 125 minutes. There's a lot of information on the Wikipedia here. I'm not going to read most of it. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Art Direction. In 2002, the American Film Institute nominated this film for AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions. Film is listed in the book, The New York Times Guide to the Best 1,000 Movies Ever Made. All right. Okay, so that's about it from Wikipedia. So, a couple of things. First of all, George Cukor, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but that's how I'm going to say it. The director of this has directed a few of the movies I've watched for these Oscar ceremonies. One Hour with You, 1932, Little Women, 1933, David Copperfield, 1935. He also directed Dinner at 8, 1933, which was one of the snubbed movies I reviewed. And obviously, Romeo and Juliet. And he's got a few more, at least one more coming up in the future here, but maybe more than that. I think more than that. So he was a pretty big director back then. Agree, the sets were lavish. The production of it was pretty decent, but a couple of things. One, so Norma Shearer as Juliet and Leslie Howard as Romeo. Norma Shearer was 34 years old when this was made, 33, 34, depending on when they filmed it. And Leslie Howard was 42 or 43, depending on when they filmed this. They're supposed to be teenagers, folks. And, I guess you can kind of let that go, but he talks about being the youngest person. And I don't know if they did it because he was hit the age he was, but they filled the cast. Like John Barrymore is pretty old comparatively, playing Mercutio. And I don't know. It was just, the guy that played Paris was a couple of years younger than Norma Shearer. But he was still like 32. But it was jarring. Like the dude looked all of his 43 years. And she was, didn't look 34, but she certainly didn't look like a teenager. So that was one issue I had right from the start. Actually, when her mother came out at first, I thought it was supposed to be Juliet. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I realized it was the mom, and Juliet came out a bit after. Oh, also, Edna Mae Oliver, who is like the VIP or the MVP of the 1930s movies, was also in this. She was in, let me find her. She was in Cimarron, Little Women, David Copperfield. She's a favorite of George Cukor. Romeo and Juliet. I feel like she was also in Tale of Two Cities she was in. So she's been in, like two or three of the movies from this round. And she's pretty good. She's been good in everything. So here's the thing. I'm rambling a little bit, but here's the thing. So it's Shakespeare. And you know the story. I sort of lost interest in this about halfway through, maybe even a little less than that. But I watched it all. And, you know, Shakespeare is Shakespeare. This is my opinion. It's a little bit boring. I like Shakespeare stuff, but it's the presentation, not necessarily just the words on the page. Like if you just sit and read Shakespeare, oh, okay, do you, but that's not for me. And there's a lot of things like that, like Lord of the Rings. To me, those are terrible books, but the bones of the story is great. And the presentation that Peter Jackson gave us is amazing. And I know not everybody's into Lord of the Rings, and that's fine, but what he put together based on that was pretty amazing. This was just kind of your basic adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. Some might scoff at the DiCaprio and Claire Danes version, but that one was pretty amazing. But it's kind of a masterpiece. Like its set direction is amazing. It's the modernization of it was so well done. The fact that they use guns instead of swords, but the guns are like called swords or rapier or whatever. Like her suicide at the end is so much more dramatic because it's a gun rather than a knife or a dagger. But yeah, it was fine. It was a good adaptation. The acting was good, but the age of the actors was off-putting to me, and it was just kind of like, oh, here's Romeo and Juliet. It wasn't anything over the top or super engaging for me. And despite having great sets and some good acting, this wasn't it for me. I gave it 2 stars in Letterbox. And I'm going to move on from here. I have one more movie before the Best Picture, and then I have a snubbed movie as well for 1936. So I will see you next time for Anthony Adverse. Later.